Is I froze them. I do that a lot. So what I usually do is just put them in a freezer bag just like that, and I lay them flat after they've, you know, been cut and set on the kitchen table for about 3 hours or so. And then I just put them in these bags, lay them flat, and throw them in the freezer. And that's it. And I just pulled these right out of the freezer, so they're frozen, and we're gonna boil them. I'm gonna show you that in just a minute. And then we're gonna pan fry them, make a brown butter sauce. So I just wanna show you the ingredients first. So we obviously have the gnocchi. I have a really big garlic clove here, 2 shallots. I have, these are half sticks of butter, so I have 1.5. We're not gonna use all of it, but we will use 1 stick for the brown butter, and then the other half, we're going to use part of it to fry the gnocchi after it boils. Then we have sage. There's just some salt that I keep in here. And then Parmesan cheese. And then over here, I have water starting to come to a boil. We're going to put the gnocchi in there. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make my brown butter sauce. So I'm going to make the brown butter sauce, pour it in this bowl, and then I'm going to put a little bit more butter in this sauce and boil the gnocchi and then fry them in here. And then we're going to put everything together. So it's really, really good. So what I'm going to do now, set you down here so you can see here. I'm going to just cut the garlic in half. It's a really big clove. I'm just going to put that inside the pan with the butter, and it's going to just infuse. I'm not going to actually, you know, cut it up. And then I'm going to chop up the shallots. And while I do that, I'm just going to go ahead and take a stick of butter and open it up and just get it going in the pan. I'll do that first. That right into the pan here and turn it on. And you're going to do about like medium heat on that. I'm just going to let that warm up. We're going to come back to that in a second. We're going to come back here, and now we're going to start cutting up the shallots and the garlic and the sage. So for the garlic, it's a really big clove. All I'm going to do is just kind of smash it for a second. That helps get the peel off. And then I'm going to just slice it in half. Okay. I bought this is elephant garlic. I bought that and didn't realize how big it actually was, but I actually really like it because it's much easier to throw it in a pan with butter and it's not going to burn. So I'll hold that first aside for a second, and then I'm going to get the sage out. Always get fresh sage for this, and I'm just going to, you can probably just, this one's, I'm going to pull it off a little bit so it's not too much stem, but you're just going to put this inside the butter with the garlic, and it's going to infuse the butter. Might do a little bit more. I'll probably put the whole thing. I do like a lot of it because I really want that sage flavor to come out in the butter. Okay, so now that we have that, what we're going to do is go ahead and throw the whole garlic in there just like that. And then we're going to grab our sage and throw that in there as well. And so just going to move that around just for a second. I'm just going to go ahead and let that warm up. And we're going to come back here and just start cutting the shallots. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to just make the brown butter sauce, pour it out, and it's just going to be the brown butter with the garlic and the sage. And then I'm going to put a little bit more butter in the pan, and I'm going to fry the gnocchi after I boil them, and put the shallots in there too, so it all fries together. It's really, really good. They get really kind of crispy, the shallots do, so it adds a nice little crunch to the dish. It's really delicious. This is so easy. I make it all the time. It's just really good. It's perfect for just like a, weeknight dinner. If you come home from work and you're tired and you just want to make something real quick, but that's going to be good. You have the leftover or the frozen gnocchi in the freezer. It just boils up really, really fast, and then you can fry this up, and it's really good. I'm just going to cut these into strips. I want them to stay like strips because I'm going to put them in, fry them in the pan. I want them to hold their shape because I want it to be like crunchy rings. Alright, so we have that all prepared and ready to go. So just going to let that sit there for a second. And I'm going to come back to my butter. I don't want to move it around too much. So again, I put a stick of butter in here, 1 large clove of garlic that I cut in half, and then I have the sage in there. So the goal here is to get the butter brown. That's what we're doing, so we don't want to burn it. We don't want to have it stay this yellow color either. We want to get it to get kind of brown and nutty, and it's just a really good flavor. But you can burn it really fast, so you have to, really kind of keep an eye on it. So I'm just going to watch this for a minute. It smells so good. And then over here I have, water boiling. So I'm going to take the lid off and I'm going to salt it. But I'm going to wait to boil the gnocchi until I'm done with my brown butter sauce, because it only takes about a minute and a half for the gnocchi to boil up. You throw them in the pot, and once they come to the top, when they float to the top, then you know they're done. So I'm going to let this sit for a little bit, and then I'm going to come back once it is browned and show you what I do next. I just wanted to come back to the butter and show you, and hopefully you can hear me. I have the fan on because I'm about to boil the gnocchi in a minute. You can see those brown bits in here. That's what you want. So you just want to let it, so you can really see it there. You just want to let it keep going until pretty much all the butter is browned. And then we're going to pour it out. See, it's really getting brown. We're going to take this off the heat in just a minute. You can see I don't know if you can hear how crunchy it is, but you can see that the sage is fried too. And the garlic is really good. Alright, I'm just about to take this off the heat, so don't want it to get too dark. See, it's nice brown shade. Don't want to get too dark because, like I said, it can go from brown to black really fast. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is just pour that into here. My pan here, so I'm about to throw the gnocchi in the water in just a second. But first I'm going to wipe this out real quick. Because if I don't, then that brown, those brown bits in there will burn. And we're going to put it up to pretty high heat in a minute. Because again, we're going to boil the gnocchi. It's going to go real fast. It's only going to boil for about a minute, and then we're going to throw it in here on high heat, medium to high heat, with the shallots. So it fries up just for a few minutes. And then we're going to pull it off the heat, pour our brown butter in there without, you know, the sage and the garlic, and top it with Parmesan. And it'll be done. It's delicious. Okay, just put some butter in there. Let that boil up for a second, or not boil up, just melt down for a minute. I'm going to come over here, use my little scraper thing that I used in my last video to get all the shallots on here. It's kind of hard to do this with one hand. I have the camera in one hand and then the shallots in the other. And I'm going to go ahead and take this and just throw it. I'm just going to move it around. And before I didn't film it, but I just broke apart the shallots a little bit because I want them to be like little rings in here. So the idea is basically to have this kind of going and almost ready to go, meaning, you know, almost fried, the shallots, before I start cooking the gnocchi, because it's going to go really fast. So I'm just going to put these in here, let them cook up for about a minute, and then I'm going to throw my gnocchi in. I'm going to have it on about medium to high heat, but once I put the gnocchi in there, I'm going to turn this up high. Now it sounds a little crazy, but you do want it to get really hot because you want it to get really crispy on the outside of the gnocchi. It cooks really fast. So I've already put water in this pot, obviously. I have it boiling. I've already added salt. And now what I'm going to do is take my gnocchi. And I'm going to go ahead and carefully just put it right in this pan. So I'm going to do a couple of batches. You know, and you don't want to put too much in at the same time. And a lot of times what I do is I'll get the top and I'll put it back on here so that it boils for a second, gets back up to a boil, and then once it rises to the top, put it in with the shallots. Alright, so you can see the gnocchi's risen to the top. I've put my shallots back on the hot stove and turn the heat back up, and I'm going to take the gnocchi with my spider here and just throw it right in the pan. And then once they rise to the top, it only takes about 2 minutes. Just going to throw them in the pan. You can see them rising. Okay, once they're in the pan, I'm just going to move them around quickly. Now, again, you want it on high heat. And you don't want to move it around too much because, you know, they're soft now, so you don't want them to get all mushy. So just let them cook up for a second in kind of a single layer so that they get brown. And then I'll come back to you. Okay, I just wanted to show you here. They've been cooking up for a few minutes. We wanted you to see like the brown bits on here. I'm just trying to get it a little bit crispy. Move the pan a little bit. I'm just going to cook it on that high heat until it gets brown, about 5-6 minutes or so. Alright, so I've browned on my gnocchi. I did a couple of batches off camera, so that's why you see so much in here now, but you can see how nice and brown it is on the outside and how crispy the shallots are. So now what I'm going to do is just turn the heat down all the way, and I'm going to salt the gnocchi a little bit. Okay, I have a lot here, so you're not going to have to do, you know, salt it as much as I am, but they are potatoes after all, and they do need a lot of salt. And then what I have here is my brown butter. And I, off camera, removed the sage and the garlic and just put it to the side. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour this all over the gnocchi. Okay, I'm going to give it a good mix. Now the only reason I have the heat on is because the butter's been sitting out for a few minutes, you know, probably 10 minutes or so. So I want it to just kind of warm through. And that's really it. I'm turning off the heat. And then what I'm going to do is put some in my bowl here. It's dirty because I was, you know, doing this in batches. So I'm going to put some back in here, top it with the Parmesan, and show you what it looks like. Alright, so I've just plated some in this bowl here. And what I'm going to do is just add a little bit of Parmesan to the top. Okay. And then if you want to, you can add a little bit of the fried sage on top just to make it look pretty. And there you have it. That is the pan-fried gnocchi with brown butter sage sauce. I hope you enjoy it. If you try it, if you do, let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.